As Goku has continued to learn more and more about Ultra Instinct, it's been stated throughout the series that his body is emitting a certain kind of heat when he taps into the power of Ultra Instinct. It was first brought up in Dragon Ball Super Episode 110, and most recently, as Goku has now learned to perfect the power of Ultra Instinct in Episode 129, it was brought up again. So what is this heat that the series keeps referring to? What does that actually mean? It's one of the most talked about questions that I've seen come up in the past few days. And so what I did was I took a little bit of time to rewatch the episode for the third and fourth time and really examine what was said, talk to a few of my friends, and come up with an explanation for all of you of what this actually means, as simple as possible, and one that I think is a good explanation. So let's go ahead and get to the explanation of the Ultra Instinct heat next.
Mr. Satan wants you to subscribe to Geekin' 101 on all these social media platforms. You chump. Oh yeah!
So when Goku first started using Ultra Instinct, the Omen version, back in episode 110, there was a concern that he was giving off too much heat, so to speak, from his body. And then recently in episode 129 it happened again, but this time it seemed to be much more heat than before. What is this heat they keep talking about? Is it energy? Is it ki? Is it genki? The answer is no, it's not any of that, but it is in a way related. So I'm going to try and explain this the best I can by using what they said in the series as well as real life science, specifically the laws of thermodynamics. Now understand, when it comes to Ultra Instinct, one thing that needs to be always taken into account, I don't want you all to ever forget this. Ultra Instinct, Migate no Gokui, the mastery of self movement, is a very different state of being and a different transformation when it comes to Goku than anything he's had before. This is not like Super Saiyan or even the God forms. With the old school Super Saiyan forms, it took anger combined with the whole S-Cells thing and obviously some rage and a trigger moment to transform into that state. Of course, I've done videos in the past about all these different forms, so I'll leave links to all these at the end of this video. So if you're confused about kind of the differences between the forms and like the kind of energy they use, I got you covered. But I digress. Talking about the God forms, those use God Ki, Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue, or Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, the original name for that transformation. You know, those require a manifestation of God Ki to tap into that energy. So Ultra Instinct is different because Ultra Instinct is, as we have explained in the past, and I'm doing this video under the assumption that most of you already understand Ultra Instinct and what it is, but hopefully you do, but I'll kind of explain here real quick. Ultra Instinct is both a state of being and a transformation that is the mastery of self-movement, where your entire body, every body part moves on its own, your hands, your feet, etc. It's not like a regular transformation. This is basically Goku's body moving, having movement by itself without him thinking too much or overthinking, putting ki into his fist or suppressing his ki for his traditional day-to-day life, like we talked about recently as well on this channel. It's really his entire body in combat, moving on its own instinctually. We've talked about also how in the real world, top level athletes, quarterbacks, basketball players, you know, they all have something similar. It's not quite obviously as cartoony and crazy like in Dragon Ball, but when you play a sport or when you do any kind of activity multiple times, eventually you have instincts kick in. You don't think about shooting the basketball, you just shoot it because your brain and your body are one and you're moving very, very fast. That is the principles of Ultra Instinct. And that is the key to understanding Ultra Instinct's heat. It's all about movement. Every time that there is movement in anything, it generates heat. So just imagine the level of heat that Goku is generating when he is in Ultra Instinct. Just imagine moving so fast that your body parts are moving on their own without thinking. These characters are already way past the speed of light, and they're way past the speed of sound in Dragon Ball. That's been stated several times, and it's easy to figure out. So just imagine this level of speed and how much heat it gives off. Whis himself states in the episode that he can feel an accelerating rise of energy, not from confusion, but from pure impulse. So understand what I'm trying to tell you here. Goku's body is moving so fast that he's not even thinking about what he's doing. It's purely instinct, Ultra Instinct. Whis would go on to say that Goku is focusing his heart and soul, heating himself up intensely and wildly. Basically, Goku is willing himself to move faster, not because he feels like he needs to win the fight necessarily, but because he feels like he has to, and that's the trigger to Ultra Instinct. Now, the laws of thermodynamics really has a lot to do with how to explain this from a scientific perspective. Essentially, the way it works, to simplify things. Science uses thermodynamics in various different ways, and one of the main ways is that it's used to describe how certain aspects of nature, how certain aspects of technology or whatever respond to changes in the environment through heat and through work. Now, one thing I'm not going to do on this video is talk about formulas and math and science, because I don't want to bore you, to be honest. I'll simplify things in case you might not know what I'm talking about. Kinetic energy is essentially energy that is primarily powerful due to motion. So to give you a very simple test that you can try at home, or that you can do, or that you can remember, anytime that you exercise and you exercise hard, your body starts to heat up, and that's why you sweat. Your body gets hotter and hotter and hotter, your temperature goes up, and thus your body responds by sweating, which is the body's natural cooling system. Now imagine that. Imagine you going to the gym, doing CrossFit, lifting weights, whatever you like, and then imagine that multiplied by 1,000,000 in the Dragon Ball world, where characters can do things that are beyond scientific explanation, but they still are rooted in science. That's what's going on here. Goku is not using energy in the sense of ki and in the sense of Genki or God ki. Goku is using acceleration. He is using velocity. He is using speeds that are immeasurable to regular people who aren't this fast. So even if you are not using ki or Genki or God ki in the traditional sense, you're still giving off heat. Obviously, energy, as far as like ki goes, gives off heat, but also acceleration and move and work also give off heat. So let's pretend that we were actually in the world of Void next to Goku as he's fighting Jiren. Let's pretend that we're actually right next to him. There's a very good chance that we would start to sweat, because there's so much heat coming off of Goku because of how fast he's moving that we would sense the heat, and that's what Whis is talking about. That Goku's body is giving off heat because of how fast his accelerated movements are, because he has figured out now for certain how to move his body without having his mind slow him down. Even though it probably won't be stated in the series that it's actually called this, the principles are based on thermal energy and temperature. That's where it really comes from. And please understand that because this manga and this anime or whatever, this series is based on fighting, every character in the series has the same principles. It's not just Goku, but with Ultra Instinct, it's that at a much, much higher degree, and it's not your traditional energy. So I wanted to clarify that the heat that's coming out of Goku's body, that is not him losing energy, that is not him, his body leaking out ki. That's not what's going on here whatsoever. It's actual heat from thermal kinetic energy that is being generated by the speed that Goku's moving his limbs. I hope that makes sense to you, and I hope that you'll take some time, if you're interested, to do some more of your own research on thermodynamics, kinetic energy, and all that, because, again, it's all very simple science stuff. It's not too complicated, but it's fun to examine it when it comes to Dragon Ball because it makes sense. That's actually what the original principles behind Ultra Instinct were when it was talked about in the martial arts in the real world, sort of allowing your instincts to take over versus overthinking things. So speaking of overthinking, I hope that I'm not doing that. And if you think that I am, that's cool. It's just, this was what I thought of, and it's the best explanation that I could come up with. If you have one yourself, I would love to hear it. down below in the comments about what the Ultra Instinct heat properties are. I'd love to know more, but this is what I came up with, and I hope that at some point Toriyama will, maybe do an interview or something and tell us more about Ultra Instinct and sort of his ideas behind it. If you are new to Geekdom 101, hit subscribe, like the video if you did, and become a member of the Geek Army. And as I promised, I got more videos for you to watch right here. If you haven't seen them yet, you must check them out because they'll help explain things a bit better about these forms and sort of where the concepts came from. So thank you. Check it out. See you soon.